Can you see Texas up there on your high horse? What do you know about these people?
Just observation and deduction. See a propensity for obesity, poverty, a yen for fairy tales. Folks putting what few bucks they do have in the little wicker baskets being passed around. I think it's safe to say that nobody here is going to be splitting the atom, Marty.
In order to understand why some people leave religion, you need to understand why people join and stay in the first place. In 1967, Gordon Allport wrote an important essay that considered what draws people to religious life. It was called Personal Religious Orientation and Prejudice. In it, Allport posits that religious motivation can be characterized based on two binary poles: intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. He defines the spectrum as follows. Perhaps the briefest way to characterize the two poles of subjective religion is to say that the extrinsically motivated person uses his religion, whereas the intrinsically motivated lives his religion. Most people, if they profess religion at all, fall upon a continuum between these two poles. Seldom, if ever, does one encounter a pure case. Some people love religion for how it makes them feel. They're drawn to the extrinsic benefits promised in religion. Maybe it's the community, maybe it's the kugel. Others, those who are intrinsically motivated, are drawn to the truth of religion. They don't affiliate because of a religious community, they believe in its inherent precepts. If these are the two poles of affiliation, and individual motivation lies somewhere in between the two, this may help explain how the reasons people have for leaving can be so varied. Some are bullied, others may have been hurt, some just don't believe it is true. But, much like the spectrum of motivations, most cases of leaving probably include elements of both. Perhaps the most famous case of a Jew who left the community was Benedict Spinoza, whose philosophical issues with religion and subsequent communal shunning plants his motivations at both poles of the spectrum. But the issue of Jews leaving traditional Judaism was not new then, and it is not new now. Still, it seems, like all issues, modernity has transformed the phenomenon. Once upon a time, someone would leave the traditional community and you would never hear from them again. The communal boundaries were strong enough and general communication was weak enough that once people left, those who remained were cordoned off in their own protective community. That's changed. Online, there are communities for people who have left. There are Facebook groups that have dialogue between those inside the community and those who now find themselves outside. There are support groups, organizations, and of course, a whole lot of memoirs. It's hard to say if this is good or bad. It is certainly different. More stories are being shared, and more people within the traditional religious community have access to the motivations and experiences of those who left. In some ways, the communities have become closer than they ever have been before. In other ways, it seems more distant. The memoir of those who left has sensationalized some of their experiences, overshadowing the everyday doubt that those inside and outside religious communities may experience. Some read these memoirs with a measure of spiritual schadenfreude, looking for the passage or experience that will give them the certitude that their own approach is correct. Oh, it must have been abuse. You see, they just left so they can indulge in depravity. Maybe the best way to understand this community are the terms we use to describe them. Beginning in Talmudic times, they may have been called apikoros, from the philosophical school Epicurus. Underlying this description seems to be the assumption that the motivation for leaving was, much like Epicurean philosophy, about physical indulgence. Other times they may have been called frei, Yiddish for free, perhaps reflecting many of the communal restrictions and discipline enforced in many Yiddish-speaking communities. More recently, the term OTD, an acronym for off the derech, meaning path, has become more popular. Each of these terms captures a different emphasis underlying the experience or motivation for leaving. The term that may capture it best is used in Israel, chozer b'she'ela, meaning a return to questioning. It works for two reasons. It parallels the term used for those who choose to enter religious life, chozer b'tshuva, and it captures the doubt, curiosity, and essential ambiguity that underlies any religious decision. Chozer b'she'ela recasts the journey of those who left with religious terminology, which may be the best way to understand the decision itself. Religious movement in any direction can inform and uplift, regardless of the direction. Religious life can be turbulent and complex, and when there is movement and religious life doesn't ossify and remain static, some element of religious engagement surely persists. In nearly any office building, you'll find a neon sign that says exit. Jose Bashela may seem like it highlights those exits, but each question, each doorway leading out can also ostensibly be an entrance leading in. When we understand why people leave, it not only helps us to offer a way back, but also creates a better world for those who remain by incorporating those lessons. Understanding our exits helps inform both our entrances and the room it provides passage for. Entrances and exits both speak volumes. Different directions, as long as there is movement.